Welcome. We are here with Philip Cohen, who is the Senior Vice President of Operations for Workuity in the Phoenix area. Philip, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. So you've been to GWA conference. You were in DC, and the GWA conference is coming to Phoenix this year in September. I feel like it's sort of less fun when it's in your hometown though, because you don't get to, it's easy, but you don't get to travel, new
Yeah, I was
place.
excited to hear that you were coming to Phoenix, but yeah, I wouldn't have mind going to a different city as well.
Yeah.
Well, the cool part is you get to bring your staff, right? I think you and I had that discussion. It'll be
Right.
easier to get your
Yeah,
staff.
Easier to bring team members. You don't have to buy the flights and do all that.
definitely. Yeah, and the hotels and such. So
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I know.
part of what you missed in his background, which we're going to start there,
Yeah.
is he is a Regis alumni, like many of us.
Well, yes. Well,
I,
two-thirds of this
I,
group
I
is a Regis
yeah,
alum.
I have survived the Regis days.
Okay, do you think it's a great training ground?
I think anything can be a great training ground. I came over from the hospitality industry and
so maybe
walked
a better
into my
training ground. Tell us the Philip story.
Yeah, walked
Let's
into
start
my
at the
Regis.
beginning.
Yeah, I walked into Regis not knowing anything about the industry and quickly realized it's like being a general manager of a hotel. And I said, well, I can do that. It's just, and you guys, we close at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., whatever the time was. I thought that was a great
You're
perk.
Like, sign me up for that.
For my hotel days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there was some really good things that Regis taught me about the industry, about, just dealing with what we do, what we sell, and the services that we offer. So yeah, I think overall it was a good training. It was a good training, and they do certain things very well.
They have a sales machine.
Sales machine, and they've got a lot of locations.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, tell us about your hospitality background.
20 plus years working for different hotels and resorts, high-end brands like the Ritz-Carlton to more mid-scale Holiday Inn, Holiday Inn Express, Disneyland Hotel. Worked pretty much in every department, yes, housekeeping, that you can in a hotel. GM, front desk, house, like I said, housekeeping, restaurants, food and beverage. So kind of done it all for a couple fairly major brands and enjoy it. The positive things about hotels you get with co-working as well. And the negative of, again, being up till 3 o'clock in the morning because somebody didn't call in, you don't have to deal with in this industry. So it's fantastic. It's a very good crossover.
Wait, so did you know coming out of school that you wanted, was hospitality always going to be your thing, or was it somewhat accidental?
Probably a combination of both. I ended up getting my undergrad degree in hotel restaurant management. So I liked the idea, kind of stumbled into it at school and just finished the degree on that, and took a job with Disney in school and then went back to them after graduation, went through their management program. I actually, one of my nice things I like to tell is people I have both a doctorate and a master's degree from Disney University. And you did hear that correctly. So yeah, I kind of always had the hospitality, if you will, in my blood. It's something I've really enjoyed, and so I kind of wanted to do that after school, and I did it for like 20 years, and then eventually made the switch over to what we're doing here. And yeah, and it gives me the same positive vibes that hospitality does.
Mm-hmm. Well, hospitality is kind of a newer, I feel like it's a newer term for co-working. Not brand new, but new. I mean, co-working itself is a little bit newer, although we were talking with Jean-Yves before this. Obviously, the broader industry has been around for decades, but sort of the current incarnation. Yeah, what's your feeling about sort of the co-working industry moving into a more hospitality focused mindset?
I think it's great. I mean, I noticed that at the GWA conference in DC, everybody talked about, co-working as a division of hospitality. And I think it's true. Sometimes when I'm explaining to whether it's family members who have no idea what I do or customers who come in, I'll explain that we're basically a hotel for companies, and they may stay one day, they may stay 1 or 2 years, but that's kind of how I describe it. And it makes a lot of sense to people because they understand the hotel business, even if they don't understand what we do.
I like it. Gio, you're up next.
I'm up next. Oh, so much
I mean, I can
fun.
keep going. Okay, tell us about Workuity. How many locations? I was just gonna hit your website so I can kind of get the vibe.
No problem. So we have two locations. Our Phoenix Biltmore location was our first, opened in 2017. And we opened up our Chandler location, which you get to see a lovely picture behind Giovanni there, in
Oh.
April of 19.
I can't believe I
And
didn't visit I was just telling Philip that oh, I'm getting a tour. I was like, what's happening on my screen? So AYSO has its annual expo in Chandler, Arizona. So I was there last April and I was like, it was already 100 degrees outside. I can't believe I didn't stop by. What was I? You know what? I was mostly there on the weekend, I guess. So I wasn't really thinking co-working, I guess. So anyway.
next time I'll get you in on the weekend. But yeah, so we've got the two locations and doing well. Always looking for that next opportunity to to expand, and just looking for the right space and the right timing on it.
Leased locations or owned?
Leased. Yeah, we do the traditional lease.
They're actually in a Heinz property.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, beautiful space, lots of light.
Yeah.
And I mean, Phoenix is one of the top markets in the country when I talk to people, right? I mean, you've got a lot of
In
people
terms of
moving there.
growth?
It's a lifestyle market,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. I mean, how's occupancy been before COVID, through COVID, coming out of COVID? I mean, have you seen the migration there? I mean, what's
Yeah,
that look like?
so before COVID, we were almost full, if not full, for the entire year. We probably sat around 97, 98%. Good problem to have.
Yeah.
With our offices, dedicated desks. Something would pop open and boom, somebody else would jump on it. Obviously, COVID hit. We're pretty lucky through COVID. A lot of our members continued to come, or at least continue to keep their agreements in place and helped pay and everything. And we survived fairly, I don't want to say unscathed, but I think we came out better than most. And since COVID, we're still probably anywhere from 85 to 90% full on the offices, every month. Now we'll dip down on certain months like we all do. That's part of the business. We still have a handful of the month to month people, and those you just never know. But most of our agreements are on the longer term, which gives us some stability. But yeah, so we're pretty happy. We're mostly full at both locations. In our Biltmore location, we have a lot more competition on this corner. It's a very busy corner, and it's about to get even more busy. So, that's been a little more tricky, but, I think we're holding our own.
Do you think
In the interest,
oh, go ahead.
go.
Well, I was just gonna say, it feels like there's a lot of supply in Phoenix. Maybe that's just downtown. I have to orient myself to where.
No, you're right. There's
Yeah.
a lot of supply. Downtown, not as much. I don't think it has as much as
Okay.
what we have on this corner. Let's call it a 3-block radius. Come April 1st, we'll have 7 co-working locations.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the WeWork
At
is
Biltmore.
still open. Lucid, Workuity.
Yeah, Lucid's coming in April.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's fun. Keep you on your
Yeah,
toes.
we've got 2
Well, I think
Reguses, a large WeWork.
Okay.
I think it's interesting to talk about your layout, right? Because it's not the typical layout, right? You've got some larger offices, you got some team spaces. I know you have some enterprise space that you've built out that you had leased for a while, and then you kind of had to get creative with that space. You kind of want to talk about kind of the business model layout, kind of how it's evolved with changes in the market.
Yeah, so I think when our ownership group started, and it was pre-me, our Biltmore location is about 18,500 square feet. The Chandler one is about 22. Majority of it is office space, but we had some dedicated desks and some co-working, and they really thought that the co-working was going to be very high numbers. So tried to do a
Doesn't everyone, Philip? Doesn't everyone?
Tried to do a lot of tables and a lot of space and communal space. And it turns out, it's the offices. And so Some of them are built the right size, and some of them we've had to adjust. We've knocked out a wall here for certain clients. We've put in a doorway, things of that nature. And we try to be flexible. And Giovanni was talking about, we had a large, we called it the lab space. So it had 32 dedicated desks and 6 offices. And we had a company that did a complete buyout, and it was fantastic until
Till they
after,
left.
right after COVID. They just couldn't do it anymore. So we sold the 6 offices individually, and then we sold one company all the dedicated desk space.
Wow.
So it worked out well, but a little scary there for a couple of
Yeah.
months. And so we try to be flexible and fit as many people's needs, but we know you in this business, you can't please everybody all the time. So you do what you can and make accommodations where you can without sacrificing the heart of your business. We don't want to make a change that's going to affect the entire building and affect the people next to you and stuff like that. So we try to be aware of what we do today, how will it affect tomorrow? Because we know that, members don't stay forever. So we have to kind of think about that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think even you want to talk about kind of what you've done with the open desking area.
Yeah. So we used to have long 8 foot tables by 4 foot,
because I think that's a big part.
Yeah, so we transitioned from that to more of a cafe style, almost like a restaurant, or excuse me, a hotel lobby. Kind of give that feel. We still have the co-working tables, but smaller tables too, and we have some soft seating, couches, and trying to give people more of that hotel lobby. Some people really like to work at a table and spread out, and other people like the cafe, to try to pull in, whether it's like a Starbucks or a hotel. They can have meetings, and it's very comfortable that way. So we've tried to do a combination of both. And we're a little scared pulling the trigger when we did, but did that about a year and a half ago, and it's been well received.
Wait, I have a question about hotel lobbies. Are they technically open to the public?
I mean, it's a public house. So yes, it's open. They, like any business, it's privately owned. They can
Yeah.
refuse business to
Okay.
somebody.
They could kick me
But
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
they should
love
not kick you
hotel
out unless
lobby.
you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, okay. I love the vibe of a hotel lobby, and there's a new residence, I think it's a Residence Inn. There's a giant new commercial development in my town. Giant. And there's a Residence Inn, and it has a very nice lobby. And the last time I was in there, I was like, it's totally empty in here. I should just office here. And I was like, what would they
Not
do
many
if I just
people hang
started
out there.
showing up every day? Like, maybe they'd be happy someone was there.
Well, a Residence Inn, they might think that you're one of the
That I'm
guests,
there.
long-term guests. You
Yeah.
get away with it for a few months.
Well, I'll tell you it when we were with WeWork, WeWork, geez. What a day. When I was with Regis, WeWork was in conversations with Marriott, and we actually went and met with the Marriott executive team in outside of DC. And they were looking at how, because if you stop and you think about it, is they've got these most of them have big parking lots, in a lot of cases surface lots. They've got beautiful lobbies, they've got amenities, they have all this stuff that's not used during the day, right? For the most part, most guests come in at night and then they leave in the morning, especially a business traveler. And so you have all this space, you have, F&B that you're trying to drive. Even the fitness center, right, isn't really used during the day. And so Marriott, and I'm sure others, were trying to figure out how to accommodate those things. And so we went, we went several meetings through trying to figure out how to do that. I know they were talking to a couple other people about it, but yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we have a hotel right next to Chandler that we teamed up with. Just started doing this where they can send their business travelers to us, instead of their small business lounge, they can utilize Workuity space at a discounted rate. Obviously, our internet's going to be a little stronger than the typical hotel, internet. We've got meeting rooms, save a lot of money versus a hotel. So
yeah.
I think there's an opportunity there to really get the business traveler. So we just started rolling that out. Haven't seen much yet, but optimistic to try to have this relationship.
I'm curious about any sort of people talk about the hotel industry sort of as a parallel, like you were saying, you described to friends and family who don't understand what you do. From a business model perspective, is there anything that seems like totally crazy to you that co-working hasn't like done yet? Like the hotel industry has, you could easily get data, right? Everybody's like piped into I can't remember what the system's called. And in co-working, like there's no data anywhere, basically. I mean, some companies
Yeah,
have the transaction data, but it's proprietary, right? And then they produce, sort of big reports, but you can't go in and get like, what's the average nightly rate in my market? Like, I'm curious, like, just, any thoughts you have around sort of
absolutely. I would love to be able to create exactly what you talked about. Is they call it a star report,
yeah.
and it looks at occupancy, average daily rate, and then something that they call RevPAR, revenue per occupied room. It's hard because at least with a hotel, you can compare a hotel room to a hotel room, whether it's $1,000 a night or a $69 a night. Obviously, those aren't even though they might be next door to each other, they're generally not competition. But it is hard to compare. Let's just say Workuity to the WeWork. They've got 2.5, 3 times the space. But how do I compare my average rate per office when I have a lot fewer ones, or maybe I have more ones or something like that? So you'd have to do it per seat.
Okay. Yep.
And I think that would be something really useful. And I know the way it works in the hotels is you sign up and they pull the data and it's all confidential. I can't figure out what the Marriott across the street
Okay.
is doing, but it gives me an aggregate number and it then ranks me. Am I higher, lower, than the average? And you get to pick what you call your competitive set. So I think having that in our industry would be fantastic, but you're going to need everybody to play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That's the
we
hardest part.
all have different systems, whether we're on Yardi, Office R&D, and how do you get that information? And then the question is, will they be honest about it? I know some of the hotels that I've had friends with, if it's not automatically downloaded, they fib their numbers because they want to make their occupancy look better or worse, depending on how they want, if their bonus is tied to their star report. So,
That is
and then
amazing and horrible at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
So speaking of integrity, so what would you say your favorite qualities are about yourself?
Oh, wow. Hate talking about myself. I think integrity is really, really important, especially with what we do, because how many times do we get members coming in and, we send them a 12-page agreement and they don't read it? And there are certain co-working companies out there that, don't want their members to read the agreement because then they don't really know what they're signing for. I'm very upfront. If I make a promise to someone verbally, and even if I forget to put that in the agreement, I'm honoring it. I've made mistakes where I've sent them a proposal and I put the wrong rate in there because I was rushing and I wasn't paying attention. I said, you know what? I sent it to you. I'm honoring that. Man, you signed a year, or you told me you want to do a year at that rate because I, forgot to do it. Yep, I'm doing that. I think that's important because we're building trust and a relationship with my clients, and it lets them know that I do care about them, not just as a number. They're not just a piece of business to me. They're part of the Workuity family. Once they're here, and even when they leave, they're still part of that family. So I think that's really important. So I pride myself on the integrity. My family is my life. So, my wife, my kids, they're the most important things to me. And so I think, in my friendships that I've built both through work and outside of work, I guess that's kind of what I pride myself on and what I try to be, what I'm about, I guess, if you will.
Do your kids understand the business?
Yeah, so my kids are in college now, but during COVID, my son was in college during COVID, but my daughter was still in high school, and high school closed, so she decided that she was going to come to work every day with me.
I
So
love
I said,
that.
I had an office for her, and she was Zoom, because our internet's stronger here than at home, but she dressed up every day to come to the office. And so I got to have lunch with her. I had daddy daughter day every day for a year and a half.
Awesome.
It was fantastic. And it taught her a lot about business, just business in general, because we've owned businesses in the past and restaurants and hotels, and she's been involved in that enough that she kind of understood. But here she could see me at work every day, and I treated her like a member, and she treated me like, kind of like a dad, but kind of like, the employee and such. But she'd be on these Zoom calls and everybody would ask, "Where are you?" And she was like, "Oh, I'm in an office." So she kind of got the nickname of CEO, because she was the only kid that was,
Nice.
yeah.
That's
I mean, there were kids,
hilarious.
still in bed and stuff like that. And here she was on a nice
In
window
an
office with a
outfit,
good
yeah,
support.
with a nice chair and yeah, all the
Yeah.
things.
That was a really special time to be able to kind of, even though we didn't spend a lot of time during the day because she was in classes, but it was kind of special to be able to spend that time, going to and from work and being with her, that you just don't get when when you work outside of the home.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Are either of them going to follow in your hospitality footsteps?
No. They both, one is computer science and the other one is music therapy. So
Music
very
therapy.
different. Yeah. That's what my daughter's studying.
Very cool. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I could go down a rabbit hole on that one, but I won't. Okay, Gia will have maybe more personal questions. I'm curious, you have what is close enough to 55 stars, 55-star review on your Google business listing. What drives that? Why do your members
I
love
think,
Workuity?
well, first we ask them to give us Google reviews. That helps. But I think that all of us that work here are a reflection of each other. We all have different skills and attributes, but we try to be a hospitality type organization. We think of ourselves like a hotel or like a country club and that's why we call them members and stuff like that, which I know a lot of us do, but we do what's right for the business and then what's right for our customers. Examples: if I have somebody that wants to downgrade out of an office and they've got 8 months left on their agreement, if I can find somebody else that will take over that agreement, we'll let them do it, because then it's a win-win-win. And
Yeah.
that's just the way we think. And I know not, some of the bigger guys can't do that, and I understand, but we're small enough. We have 7 people in our entire company. We can be flexible like that. My cell phone is on my business card. People can call me on nights and weekends. Fortunately, they do not. But if they need things, we're there to help them. And we look at it as a partnership. And I think that really is a big difference. If we make mistakes, we correct it, we own it, we don't hide behind it. We don't hide behind the excuse. We say, you know what? Yeah, I made a mistake. Well, let's fix it together. And we do what we need to do. And I think people see that, where, you work for a big company, it's a lot harder to do that stuff. So I think that's why we're getting the good reviews that we're getting. And again, we ask for them. We ask for the reviews. So
They don't have to be good though.
they don't have to be good.
They don't
That's
have to be
true.
good. Yeah, I'm impressed. Your listing looks great. Great photos. You've
Thank
got
you.
some awesome little soundbite testimonials. Fantastic. Oh, Expansive is in Phoenix too, and Pacific
Yeah.
Workplaces. Lot of
Yep.
lot of brands in Phoenix.
Yes, there are.
All right, Gio, what
So
else you
what
got?
what are the biggest challenges that you're experiencing right now?
Well, I think occupancy and revenues are always, whether they're, good or bad, that's always top of mind. Is how can we keep our occupancy up? How can we keep our revenues up? We want to grow rate. We want to get ancillary revenues from wherever we can, because our rent keeps going up every year. So we need to find ways to, counteract that. That's probably what keeps us up every night. Is, hey, what am I going to walk into tomorrow where somebody's business failed, and yeah, they might have 10 months left on their agreement, but they don't have the money to pay, so I have to now fill that spot or whatnot. So I do worry about that, as I think we all do in this industry. Yeah. And then, making sure that my team is happy. I've been very lucky. I've got 4 people that report to me, and the newest person is 8 months old, and the oldest person's been here 5 years. I don't get a lot of turnover, fortunately. I try to keep them happy, try to keep them busy, and we're pretty flexible. Hey, you want to go home early? You go home early. Things of that nature. I don't mind working the front desk and covering when I need to. We keep a very lean staff. We don't have a lot of extra. So if someone's sick, yeah, I cover. If I'm sick, they cover for me. And that works out really well, keeping them happy and then keeps our members happy. And then we get this 5-star reviews. It's just a big circle.
Do you like to recruit from hospitality backgrounds?
I do. I told Giovanni this when we ran into each other in DC. You know, we had a little bit of a turnover where we had someone that she worked for 2 years. She ended up changing careers, and that was fine. We hired someone 4 months, and then she decided to move to California. And rather than posting on the traditional websites, I just spent about 2 hours on LinkedIn and sitting out by the pool. I was sitting on LinkedIn, and I would send a message to people who were in the hospitality background. And because I have the background, I could speak to it. I said,
Yeah.
how would you like to work for an industry that is just like hotels, but we close, we're only open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, and no nights, no weekends. And I would hit up people who were front desk supervisors and stuff like that. And I got a lot of interest back. And then I would talk to them. I said, look, I once went into work on a Wednesday. I didn't leave till the following Tuesday. I literally was in the hotel. I didn't mean to. That's just what happened. So I can tell those horror stories about what hotels life. And when they tell me, oh, you don't understand, I said, well, I've worked for 2 hotels with over 1,000 rooms each. Trust me, I've seen it. And so I got a lot of people very interested. And that's how we made that last hire. She started with us kind of late June, and she came from a hotel background, and she's great. We still have to teach her our business, but as far as
Yeah.
her relationship with our members, outstanding, you know. And she's learning the business bits and pieces. We give her a little bit here and there, and she does tours now, and and she just understands that hospitality. I call it having a heart of hospitality.
Yeah. I love that. And she's going home at 5 or 5:30 or whatever and living the dream.
5:01 out the door.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
working with a group that just made an offer to somebody at Starbucks, and they're pretty well paid, like a manager level. It's pretty
very
good
well.
benefit, but the guy's working like 70 hours a week for that. So the hourly rate, and the guy wants a life. So yeah, you are
Yeah,
probably sort of
hotels, restaurants, you get the 2 days off, but it might be a Tuesday and a Friday where, I can tell them. And the other thing that really resonates with someone in the hotel business is you can say, like, today is January 30th. Say, hey, what are you doing on March 7th? They have no idea. And I can say, well, you know what? You can take that day off if you want, and you don't have to worry about me calling you in. And that's very appealing because in the hospitality business, you get called in all
sort
the
of
time.
always on
Oh,
call. Yeah.
yeah, someone called out sick and they need to come in, or we're busier than we thought. Can you come in? And it's stressful. It ages you.
Yeah.
So back to your family.
Yes.
So what was your favorite memory of your children growing up? Each of them individually. One moment.
Favorite memory. I don't know if I can just do one favorite memory.
All right, then do two.
I mean, their birth obviously was pretty big deal for us, but I don't know, like with my son, we used to play golf together. That was a lot of fun. And, that we're spending 4 or 5 hours at a time together. Or he was into kind of astronomy and such. And he'd tell me that there's a meteor shower coming next Saturday night. Can we go look at it? And then like a dad, an idiot, I would say, sure. And then I would ask him, when is the meteor shower? He goes, well, it's going to be between 2 and 4 a.m. Well, Phoenix is a pretty populated city, so it's a lot of light. So we'd have to go drive an hour north, get out in the middle of nowhere. And we would sit out there okay, it's Phoenix or it's Arizona cold, but it's freezing cold for us. It might be 20, 30 degrees,
Oh,
cup
wow.
of coffee and we stare at the stars for 2 hours, and he just loved it. And I was, I thought it was kind of cool, but then he'd pass out and I'd drive home. So that was just neat spending time with him. My daughter loves musical theater, and anytime she's been on stage, I think is just so special, even if she doesn't have a speaking role or a singing role. But when she comes out, it's just seeing her out there and being so comfortable on stage. I think that's pretty special as well. I mean, lots of good moments. I can't narrow it down to just a couple. Don't ask me my favorite kid either.
We definitely won't do that.
And what about moments with your wife? Not your wedding.
Okay, well, obviously I'm going to say my wedding. She's going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
We've had some opportunities, some neat traveling, and kind of experienced different things. We've been married, it'll be 24 years next month, so we've gone through some stuff that families just go through, and kind of getting through the other side. She's been very helpful in me. She is the yin to my yang. She keeps me grounded and helps me through any of those challenging days that I have. We took a trip last year to Europe, and that was amazing. It was 2 weeks of just fantastic, no work, nothing, and that was great. Hawaii trip was fantastic as well. Again, it's hard to put down one or two moments in such a long time.
That's
Sounds
amazing.
like you're embracing your empty nest.
We're trying. It's fun. I recommend it for everybody at some point.
So, as far as you were talking about your growth, what does that look like? I mean, you're waiting for the right opportunities. You and I talked about a couple of things while I was there, but I mean, what
Yeah.
does the right opportunity look like for Workuity? Because we have people doing all kinds of different growth models.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, we've been looking at this one area of Phoenix. I won't say, what area, and Phoenix is a big city, so can't guess. And that's still on the table, and that would be good. We want a place, obviously, that's going to bring us business. We don't want to be way out in the suburbs where you really limit yourself, but we also don't like the downtown area, and that's just probably a personal feeling. But we want to be in a community that there's going to be a demand there. We want to be in Class A and be able to offer a professional looking site that has the amenities that people are looking for. I think there's a lot of room to be in Class A, B, and even C real estate, and you just find the niche that makes sense. But for what we've done, our first two are Class A, high amenity buildings, high rent areas. So we want to stay in that kind of mode because I think that's what we handle the best. So we want to do, probably keep into that, 18 to 25,000 square feet of space. We're not looking to do the 50,000 plus area because I think that's a lot to manage.
Mm.
Now, if the right opportunity came around, we might consider it. But yeah, so I think, similar type of market that we're in now. More I guess the higher end, draw in the demand, and that's factor.
And what about amenities surrounding your? I mean, both your locations have incredible amenities around.
Yeah, I think that's key. Both of them have easy freeway access, lots of restaurants, and then the buildings themselves have different amenities, whether it's a gym, we have a pickleball court at one of our places, a golf
Fun.
simulator at one of our places. But I think having easy access and restaurants nearby, walking distance. Phoenix is not a walking city like a New York or a DC, whatnot. So people will drive here. So you have to have ample parking. But then when they're here, they might not want to get in the car and drive 2 blocks. So they want to be able to just walk somewhere. So I think that's important. I know some cities that you don't have to worry about parking at all, San Francisco, because nobody drives. But yeah, here, Phoenix is a driving city.
Jamie, any more operational questions before I jump in on personal stuff? Or oh, you look confused. Favorite hobby, Philip?
Okay, yeah, you go. Favorite hobby.
Right now, probably working on my golf game.
What does that look like? How good is it?
It's not. I should be better than what, for the amount of years I've been playing, I should be better. I just don't play often. I can find my ball after I hit it. I think that's
There you go.
You got me beat already. You got me
I
beat already.
totally.
that's a big step. But I play maybe once a month, sometimes twice if I'm lucky, 3 times, and it's working on it, getting there. But I have a lot of fun, and that's what matters. There's so many golf courses in Phoenix that I can play a different course every week for a year and never play the same thing twice. So
And you can play year round as long as you're willing to bake.
so the key to playing in the summer is you tee off about 6 o'clock in the morning and you're done by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it's only, I know you're going to laugh at me, it's only 100 degrees by then. And it's not bad. Drink lots of water and stay in the shade.
I'm out.
And then go home and your wife didn't even know you were gone.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. And then you have a pool at home. We all have pools, so it's easy just to jump in and cool down.
There you go.
All right, Jamie. Last question.
Okay. Well, should I ask my usual? I'll ask the usual, see how it goes. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Philip, if you're at the GWA conference and there's karaoke, what's your karaoke song?
Karaoke's tough. I like to tell people that I am tone deaf. I can't carry a tune in a backpack. However, so I avoid karaoke.
Okay.
Now, groups I can deal with,
Okay.
but I try to avoid solos. I have in the past been somewhere where maybe I did sing some songs on stage with the band. It was south of Tucson. If you know where Tucson is, you might guess what country that was in and what helped promote that courage, if you will,
Okay.
if you get my drift.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I like all kinds of music. So if I can kind of fade in the background, I can do some backup singing, just no microphone in my hand.
The
And that's
backup
really my
singer.
presence.
Okay.
You
All
don't
right.
want to hear it.
I like it.
A little Sweet Caroline or something like that.
I've been known to do Sweet Caroline, some country, classic rock. When I was up with that band, it was Twist and Shout. And then,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Traditional.
again, backup is the key. Yeah.
I like it. Okay. Well, Philip, thank you for joining us. And are we going to get to tour Workuity for the conference?
Absolutely. I would love to put us both of our locations down. Our Biltmore location is going to be a lot closer than Chandler, but Chandler's not, it's not that far, maybe half hour bus ride. So it's not too terrible, but would love to sign both of my locations up for those tours. I did the tours in DC of a couple locations and I thought it was great.
Very nice. I know.
Well, we might know the right people to talk. We might know the right people to talk to.
I can probably get you connected with one of my community managers to make that happen.
Love it. Awesome. Well, then I'm sure we'll talk to you before, but we'll definitely see you in September. Shameless plug for the conference. Do we have a link yet?
Of course.
Is there a registration link up or are we still working on Nashville?
There should be a registration for both.
Let's take a look. We'll throw it in the show notes. Okay. All right. Thank you, Philip.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.